Alright, welcome back everyone. So today we have a video by Jimmy High Roller that says this fan really thought he had a chance. Now I don't know what he's talking about or what situation exactly. I don't know. In the thumbnail, there was Wemby and the fan. I don't know. Let's go. Let's go ahead and see. Damn, okay. People have a lot of, on their chest, whatever. Pack your bags, Draymond. Damn, those memes are crazy.
The NBA regular season is quickly coming to a close, and it's about that time. We've got a fresh new batch of hot takes to look at today. The good ones, the bad ones, and the downright atrocious.
Sheesh. Hold on for a second. Wait, is it gonna be?
Today's video is sponsored by
we're just gonna let him promote this. You guys go ahead and support that one. Hold on, I'll be back. I'm back. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over this.
The NBA regular season is wrapping up in just a few weeks, but NBA social media never rests, and the scorching hot takes are not slowing down anytime soon. So let's take a look at some of the hottest takes from around the league this season. Now our first take comes from a fan who says the average Joe could average 2 points a game in the NBA over the course of a season if he played every minute of every game. And this specific genre of take, where regular people overestimate their abilities, is really fascinating to me. Not because it's right, but because of how blissfully unaware it is. If you have never played against a pro player, let alone an NBA player, I can understand how you might think under the right circumstances, if things fall in your favor, if you get lucky enough, you might be able to average 2 points a game in the NBA as a regular guy off the street. But play one game, scratch that, a few possessions against someone who plays basketball for a living, and it is astonishing just how quickly you realize you stand absolutely no chance whatsoever. Not only would the average Joe not be able to average 2 points a game, he would struggle to score 2 points over the course of the entire season. Forget scoring, try getting an open look. Try getting the ball out of your hands without getting it snatched. Matter of fact, there are NBA players who don't average 2 points a game. Watch any example of a regular guy playing an NBA player, and it almost looks like they're playing two.
There's guys who don't even average 2 points a game. Then what makes you think you would? Huh? Damn.
Sports. Just the other day, Barstool Sports challenged their employees to play former pro players in a game of basketball. Now, most of these pro players were not NBA guys, but rather really good college players who played overseas, with the addition of Tyler Hansbrough and a 50-year-old Jason Williams. The challenge started as a normal game of 5-on-5, but every time the Barstool guys lost, they were allowed to add an additional player to their team. And it quickly went from 5-on-5 to 5-on-6 to 5-on-7. Take a wild guess at how many regular guys it took to beat the pros. 9, 10? Nope. It took 15 Joes to beat the pros. Look at this game. This is a mess. They've literally stolen the court. But it gets even worse, because not only did the Joes get to add 10 additional players on the court, the only way they even had a chance to take down the pros was to start taking away players from the pro team. So by the time the Joes finally won, it was a game of 15 regular guys against 2 former pros. Now, you're probably thinking, I'll just chuck up some shots, foul bait, run the gambit of gimmicks to game my way to 2 measly points a night, and try as much as you want. You're not getting those 2 points. Imagine what Asar Thompson would do to the average Joe. Even if this person has basketball experience, in what world does the average NBA player not smother them into an errant shot or a turnover every single time they touch the ball? Just get open and heave up a few long balls. One of them's gotta go in. Get open? What do you mean get open? You think you can create space on Alex Caruso? Celtics point guard Peyton Pritchard spent his first few seasons in the league averaging about 6 points a game. In fact, throughout those first few seasons, he had countless games with 2 points or less, despite playing solid minutes. You want to know what a player like this translates to when he's not playing NBA?
For real, like, bro, Peyton Pritchard is a go-to, so, you know, if he's doing that, then, bro, don't go out, you know, don't be over here, you know, overestimating yourself. Like, come on, stop it, bro.
Those first few seasons, he had countless games with 2 points or less, despite playing solid minutes. You want to know what a player like this translates to when he's not playing NBA-level defense? 92 points.
Yeah. This dude is elite, bro. He's gonna look like prime whatever, man. Like prime Jordan, LeBron, whatever, man. On you guys, like, come on, stop it, man. When they're not playing NBA level, bro, stop it.
A player who was struggling to put up 6 a game in the NBA is Michael Jeffrey Jordan against everyone else.
Literally, bro. Like, exactly what I said. Like, so what makes you think, as an average Joe, what makes you think that the average Joe who can't even do that, you know, who can't even do, like, I don't know, what, 5% of this, you know, when playing outside of the NBA, what makes you think that a player like that would score, you know, average 2 points a game in the NBA? Like, bro, whatever.
On his very best day, an average Joe is still infinitely worse than the worst NBA player on his worst
Significantly,
day. And
too.
there are many NBA players who struggle to put points on the board. As the wise Brian Scalabrine once said, "I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me." And yet, no matter how much time has passed, no matter how many times this is proven to be true, it is still difficult for some to truly grasp just how big that gap really is. Under no circumstances would the average Joe put up 2 points a night in the NBA. Now, this next take comes from a fan who says he is not impressed by Wemby, and that Victor is only good because he's tall. And what's odd about this take, besides the fact that it's brain rot, is that up until a couple months ago, I never really saw anyone say this. For the last 2 years, everyone was unanimously enamored by his freakish size and abilities. But the more Wemby develops and the more popular he becomes to the masses, the more I see this take, to the point where this is now the default comment on any Wemby highlight. And it could not be more wrong. People say if Wemby was 6'4" instead of 7'4", he wouldn't be in the NBA. Well, yeah, if any player was a foot shorter, they wouldn't be in the NBA. Wemby's most valuable asset as a player is his size and his length, but it is not the only reason why he's good.
Yeah.
If height alone was the single biggest factor in basketball, the NBA would be filled exclusively with 7-footers.
Literally, bro.
Extremely tall guaranteed success, Taco Fall would be dominating the league right now. And not
but Taco Fall is trash, so
all-star game.
Taco Fall sucks, you know, he sucks or whatever.
Extremely tall guaranteed success, Taco Fall would be dominating the league right now and not playing in the Celebrity All-Star Game. Ironically, this take is actually the opposite of the truth. Some fans aren't impressed because he's tall, when in reality they should be impressed that he can move the way he does and maneuver with the best athletes in the world in spite of being this tall.
Exactly, that's literally it, bro. Like, stop, bro.
May be wrong, but I don't recall Yao Ming throwing it off the glass into an East Bay.
For real.
I also don't remember a time when Manute Bol nutmegged a player in transition.
Facts.
And I definitely don't think I've ever seen Boban Marjanovic hit a tween step back 3 plus the foul. Now, Victor consistently makes...
I've never seen Bol, you know, do any of these, whatever.
Plays that are only possible because he has an 8-foot wingspan, but that doesn't make them any less impressive. To discredit these plays because of Wemby's height would be like saying Shaq's game wasn't impressive because he was bigger and stronger than everyone else. Or saying Michael Jordan's acrobatics around the rim weren't impressive because he could jump higher than everyone else. Or saying Steph is only good because he can shoot threes better than anyone else. Yeah, that's kind of the point. All great players have some sort of built-in advantage to their game. It's one of the reasons why they're so great. Victor's advantage is that he's a giant, and he uses that advantage about as good as anyone ever has. If you think height is an unfair advantage that makes things unimpressive, basketball probably isn't the sport for you. Now, this next take comes from a fan who says Luka Doncic peaked early, and that we've already seen the best version of him, which sounds crazy, but may actually be true. Luka just turned 27 years old. He's in his 8th season. Historically speaking, Luka should be hitting his peak right about now. But if we have already seen the best Luka has to offer, then his timeline is about the same as most greats. Unlike most players, Luka started playing professional basketball when he was just 16 years old. In terms of playing at the highest level, physically and mentally, Luka's on his 11th season as a pro. And when you watch him play, there are moments when you can see the toll of all of those extra miles. Playing against grown men before he could drive a car certainly gave him an edge over other prospects, but it also meant Luka was a polished player, closer to his ceiling coming into the league in comparison to other young, raw players. If we look at Luka's progression throughout the years in terms of something like estimated plus minus and compare him to other all-time greats, his first 8 years in the league have been pretty similar to the others. Specifically, LeBron and Luka had extremely similar trajectories for the first half-decade of their careers. But overall, it seems between years 6 and 8 is where these guys are hitting their statistical peak. And then they hold it for a few seasons before settling into a role that's less volatile but more sustainable long-term. It's hard to believe, but Luka is approaching a decade in the NBA. If what we've seen from him is the best we're ever going to get, that actually wouldn't be out of the norm. Most players who peak extremely high reach that peak a lot sooner than you'd think. By his 7th season in the league, Steph Curry was already a champion with 2 MVPs. LeBron's 8th season in the league was the Dallas Finals, where he was already in Miami with 2 MVPs. Season 8 for Kawhi Leonard was capped off with a championship and a Finals MVP. By the end of their 8th season, most all-time greats have played their best basketball. Based off of what we've seen and where Luka is at specifically in his career, I don't think it's crazy to say we may have already witnessed Luka at his absolute peak. But that doesn't necessarily mean he peaked early. I think it means sometimes we forget just how long he's been in the league and just how quickly great players ascend.
For real, that's
Luka
true.
was so good and his game was so mature early in his career that our expectations of him were nothing short of being the best player in the world by now. An MVP, a ring, some sort of evidence that matches those early expectations. But the truth is, we may have already seen Luka at his apex. But that doesn't mean it was premature, and it definitely doesn't mean he won't meet the expectations that we've set for him. Now, our last take comes from a fan who says LeBron James playing longer has actually hurt his GOAT case. And although I don't agree, I do...
No, that's not true, but whatever.
You understand where this argument is coming from.
Yeah,
the longer LeBron plays, the further removed we become from the prime LeBron we once knew. This will be the first season he won't make an All-NBA team in 2 decades. He hasn't competed for a title in 3 years. His efforts come and go on a nightly basis, and at this point, most, if not all of his accomplishments are longevity related. Eventually, for some fans, this will be the LeBron they remember. The old LeBron who plays lackluster defense and cannot carry a team to a title. Where some fans give credit to LeBron for playing longer than anyone else ever has while remaining one of the best players in the league. Others are not impressed. It's a simple case of swings and misses for some fans. For every season that passes, LeBron's 4 rings look less and less impressive. 4 rings in 17 seasons, when he won his most recent championship, does sound better than 4 rings in 23 seasons. The extra All-Star and All-NBA selections and points don't really add to his GOAT case, but the mediocre performances and effort that comes and goes certainly subtracts from it, at least in the eyes of some fans. It's like if instead of retiring after his 6th championship in 1998, Michael Jordan kept playing for 7 more seasons and slowly regressed into a player that wasn't nearly as great as he once was. There really isn't much to gain from it. But there also isn't much to lose. And that's where I disagree with this take. Because Michael Jordan did keep playing after his last championship, and those later seasons were underwhelming to his standards. And not once did anyone hold that against him when making his GOAT case. Jordan's days with the Wizards were a victory lap, icing on the cake with very little expectations. Right now, LeBron is in his Wizards years. Any expectation of him to look like or produce at prime GOAT levels is not only unrealistic, it is an unjust standard that no one else has ever been held to. Now, you could argue that the natural endpoint to LeBron's legacy, a moment where the story could have wrapped up perfectly, would have been at the end of the 2024 season. At that point, he was 39 years old, he had already become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, had just completed another All-NBA caliber season, he had a championship with 3 different franchises, and shortly after that helped lead Team USA to an Olympic gold medal in heroic, poetic fashion. If there was a storybook ending for LeBron, that was probably it. Ride off into the sunset, call it a career, leave the league and the fans on a high note with a gold medal and a shiny new scoring record. But instead, LeBron kept playing. And I think time will prove this decision has not hurt his legacy. There is an entirely new generation of players in the league right now who get to match up and play against LeBron. A new generation of NBA fans who are able to watch LeBron firsthand, and even witnessing this admittedly watered down version of the once most dominant player in the world, are convinced they are watching the greatest player to ever live. LeBron playing longer only hurts his GOAT case if you still expect him to play like the GOAT as a 41-year-old in his 20s.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly why, where I agree with. It's about the expectations, bro. You can't have like GOAT prime expectations for a 41-year-old. So yeah, so that's why his GOAT case is not being hurt really. I mean, it's only being hurt if you're being unrealistic, yes, but if you're being realistic, no.
Third season, which is just as ridiculous as this take. But let me know what you think. Share your hot takes in the comments below. And as always, the hotter, the better.
Yeah, what do you guys think of that? These were definitely hot and false takes, whatever. I mean, I understand that the one with the Luka Doncic could be debatable because, I don't know. Right now, he's still the leading scorer of the NBA, so it's like, I don't know. It seems like now he's putting up better numbers than he ever did, so that's debatable for real. It's just that it makes sense when you compare to like on average, where do players actually, peak exactly, like what year exactly they peak, on average. And also you take into the fact that Luka, started playing professional basketball, when he was still a minor. Yeah, that's where it comes from right there. But really, when you look at how his career is right now, I don't think. He definitely did not peak early, like Jimmy said. But I would say that we still have more of him to see, because that's the thing. If we say right now that he's already peaked, that means that he's forever. It means that he's forever going to be worse from now on. But he's not being worse now. Right now, he's literally the leading scorer of the NBA. So hey. And he's not even 30 yet, so that's basically it. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. You let me know what you think down there in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.